The first ACT test was administered in 1959, joining the ACT, which debuted in 1926. In 2021, both tests are undergoing intense scrutiny from educators who wonder if they are still the best way to judge a student's readiness for the rigors of college. This week, Taylor Jackson sat down with Oklahoma Watch reporter Jennifer Palmer to discuss what the future of these high-stake tests might be.
Jennifer, what is the current testing policy of most of Oklahoma's major higher education institutions?
So right now, a lot of them are test optional. Most universities, both in Oklahoma and across the country, and they did that, as a result of the pandemic. A lot of students were having trouble with tests being canceled, test sites being closed, that sort of thing.
If test scores aren't being required, what other criteria is being used to base admission on?
So a lot of universities will use things like GPA or grades, class rank, class rigor, so that's like if they took advanced courses, or 4 years of math, and extracurriculars.
Besides difficulties posed by the pandemic, some educators are saying the ACT and SAT are discriminatory. How so, and is that view gaining any traction in higher education?
So one thing we've seen is, with a lot of education data points is, they kind of track with family income. And that's certainly true with ACT scores. Students from families that are higher income, wealthier, they tend to score better. I don't know how much the idea is gaining traction, but I do know that some of our major universities here in Oklahoma have seen much more applications this year, a much more diverse pool of applicants, and these are a lot of students of color and first-generation students.
After being canceled by the pandemic in 2020, testings returned this year. How are Oklahoma students faring in terms of their test scores?
So our ACT score, our statewide average for the class of 2021, did go up a point to 19.7. Last year, the class of 2020 was 18.7. And, a big part of that, though, is fewer students took the test. We normally get around 100%. We require an ACT or SAT for our juniors. And in 2020, of course, those juniors were, right at the pandemic, and the tests were canceled statewide. A lot of them struggled to get that test in, and so those were the kids who are now showing, they were the class of 2021.
So are we looking at a future where different schools or different states have completely different testing requirements for college admission, or has that always been the case?
So Oklahoma is one of about 20 states that requires an ACT or SAT for high school. And, I don't really foresee that changing. Even the universities that have gone test optional, some of them still require scores for things like scholarships. And so I think, there will still be a place for those tests.
Jennifer, is it possible that these testing requirements for college admissions could completely go away altogether?
It's been around for a century, so I don't know if that will go away. There's certainly still a place for it. And, there's some criticisms of the other measures that colleges and universities use, such as class rank and GPA. Some say those are inflated. A student's class rank at a very small high school might not mean as much at a larger, more competitive school.
Jennifer Palmer with Oklahoma Watch. Excellent reporting. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.